is curious about the Eve Gate and its lore might find themselves unsure how to go about finding answers to questions. I was unsure how to get there, and even more unsure on how to find out where to look. But I can honestly say I didn't know what to expect. I opened up the Eve map to look, and I typed Eve Gate into the description dialog box and clicked search, which provided no results. When I shortened the search to Eve, I received a result. The result was a constellation called Eve. Inside of the Eve constellation was 7 systems that were named Exit, Gateway, Central Point, Promised Land, Dead End, New Eden, and Canard. Not knowing which system contained the infamous Eve Gate, I zoomed in and out on the last system. It seemed to be a dead-end system called New Eden. Behind the name in the Eve map, you could make out the words Eve Gate. And so I ventured out into that area without researching any further. I just wanted to fly there. So I chose to fly in my very cool and very fast Leopard. This shuttle is currently worth over 63 million ISK, a very cool ship, yet very short on capacitor for long warps. If you ever fly one of these things, be prepared to stop mid-warp. The cap is very slow to recharge, yet the ship is the fastest ship in Eve. At the top of this trip, away from Jeddah, I became victim to a war declaration when I lost my Leopard on the first gate out. I was getting some nice video on the gate. Shortly after I ended my screen capture, I was targeted, scrammed, and exploded. And then potted. My only regret is that I wasn't running fraps when the assault occurred. After regrouping in Jeddah, I got into another Leopard and headed out once again. This time, more alert and more aware of the pending doom on every gate. The trip out to the constellation was quite a few jumps, but in the Leopard, most of the jumping and warping was pretty quick. And I mentioned to my corp mates that I was headed to the Eve Gate, and I was informed that the groups that inhabit this area are anti-pirates, and they would most likely not attack me. For the most part, that's what I found. It didn't take long until I was at the first gate in the constellation. I entered far enough into low security space near the constellation to witness a lack of presence on each gate, that's for sure. Inside of the system itself, it wasn't until I looked around and located the sun that I realized the Eve Gate phenomenon was a sun-like celestial in the distance. If you consider the lore, we, humans, are the capsuleers in this world, human beings. There are no aliens in Eve, well, that we know of. We had to rise to the challenge of space exploration from Earth, and we did. We expanded until we found a new universe, and then we created a gateway to and from that universe. When that gate collapsed, the world outside was lost. If you were living on a planet in one of these solar systems, you could live your entire life and never know you were part of the Galente Federation, or the Amar, or the Caldari, or the Minmatar. Well, you'd probably notice if you were a Minmatar. At this point, Earth was no more than folklore to the later generations of what was now known as New Eden. And so, from all of Eve started the one solar system. The rediscovery of the warp drive led to the next system, and then the next system, and so on and so forth. So all of Eve is the result of human effort in exploration to inhabit and control resources and to spread out among the stars into the solar systems within these constellations. Most of us started somewhere else. So, if we come here, it's a dead end, but it's really the beginning. I have been told since visiting the Eve Gate by others that capsuleers have wasted weeks and weeks to fly towards the phenomenon. They warp to their bookmarks, day after day, and start over. Yet, for the entire trip, and all of their efforts, none of them ever reached the Eve Gate. My imagination portrayed images of a gate broken in two, a light surrounding what might have been glow, of a wormhole. But what also might have been a black hole. This was neither. This was a second sun. This was a bright blast of energy, a form that overtook the entire system. Spanning all forms of it, sanctioned and unsanctioned, the idea of a gateway in space to another entire universe is intriguing. Almost as much as the idea of technology making a human being's consciousness live for an eternity. The idea of living forever is the very reason mankind chooses to believe and hope and dream. And that's amazing. Maybe that's why Eve has such a loyal following. The imagery of the Eve Gate I saw in this expedition does make sense. After eons of existence, the phenomenon that cracked the Eve Gate into, for whatever it really is, it could have also swallowed away any remnants of a gate.